You're staying in conversations way too long and it's making you look clingy, and everyone can see it. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing 2 things that you shouldn't do in your interactions with people to prevent you from coming off as clingy. Number 1, don't follow people around. So let's say you strike up a conversation with someone, the conversation is going good, but it's dying down, and the guy ends up saying something like, I'm going to go get some more water. Don't follow him to the water cooler. This is definitely something that will make you be unlikable to people, and therefore should be avoided at all costs. Now, another example is, let's say you're talking to someone and the person says, I gotta go to the bathroom. In a way, it looks like he's trying to get out of the conversation. Definitely don't want to overstay your welcome in that conversation. So one thing not to do is to follow that person. Don't wait outside of the bathroom for that person to come out. That is a big no-no. And I feel like it is a little obvious, but just in case you don't know, yes, these types of behaviors does come off as a little weird and creepy to other people, even with people of the same gender as well. Now, an exception to this rule is if you guys are both genuinely enjoying the conversation and you could tell that the other person wants to keep talking with you. Let's just say you're at a birthday party and you're going to go get food. There's absolutely no problem with kind of taking the conversation into the line while you guys get food. That is totally cool and very natural, actually. Next thing that you don't want to do is keep the conversation going, and like I said before, overstay your welcome in a conversation. I remember this one time with one of my friends from church. I remember he came over. There's a certain point I'm like, okay, when is this guy going home? He not only stayed overnight, but he also stayed up until the next day afternoon, I believe. We didn't expect him to stay that long, and we honestly didn't want to be rude, like, get out of here, man. It just felt a little awkward and a little bit rude, to be honest. Love the guy, of course, but this is a really good illustration of what I mean when you overstay your welcome in a conversation. If you're in a conversation and the other person doesn't want to be in a conversation, it creates this little bit awkwardness where the guy's kind of wants to get out. He's trying to look for a right excuse to get out of the conversation, but then you just keep talking and keep asking questions. Not the type of thing that you want to do, especially when you're wanting to make a good impression and building friendships with people. So instead, what I suggest doing is leaving the conversation when it starts dying down. If there's a graph and the conversation just goes up, you're building rapport, you guys are having some good conversation, maybe deeper conversation, you're laughing together. But there comes certain lulls in the conversation, which is completely normal, that it kind of like just tapers off, things start kind of winding down, and the conversation is coming to an end. Now, what I'm saying here is that leaving the conversation when it starts going down. Now, what exactly does this look like? Look like that awkward moment after you guys are laughing or something like that, like hearing sentences like, yeah, yep, yeah, you're right. Yeah. And there's that awkward silence after a certain topic. If the person doesn't ask a follow-up question to show that he's still invested in the conversation, that's a good sign that maybe you should wrap up the conversation with the person and move on. Now, here are 3 more signs that shows that the other person wants to leave the conversation. This could be moving their feet away from you or gesturing their body away from you, like they're trying to get out of the conversation. Now, another sign is their vocal tone. Now, if they just sound bored and they're not asking follow-up questions like I said before, they're just sounding like, yep, that might also be a sign that it might be time to wrap up the conversation. And the third one is facial expressions. Again, if they're looking away or they're kind of not really smiling, they're kind of like maybe biting the lip, especially in combination with the previous ones, it might be a good time to wrap up that conversation and let that guy go. Well, why should you even care about this? And what does this have to do with making friends? Well, one, it's because people tend to remember the beginning and the end of the conversation. So if you could leave the conversation at a high point, you leave the conversation and Therefore, your impression on them at a high point, general rule of thumb, don't hold people hostage in conversation. Conversation should be enjoyable and guys should both be having a good time talking with each other. But if the other person doesn't want to be a part of the conversation, then leave and go and talk to someone else. And again, leave a good impression and don't leave a bad taste in their mouth. Now let me tell you, it is a completely normal thing for a conversation to die and fizzle out. If that's the case with a conversation that you're in, just let it die a natural death. It is completely normal. It happens with everyone. Conversations will inevitably reach an end, and that's okay. Now that you know how not to come off as clingy in conversation and come off as unlikable, now there could be other things that could be absolutely killing your conversation that you might just be unconscious of. And that's exactly what I go into in this video. Check it out.